Hello again. I'm Henry T, and this is our show, The Henry T Show, live every Monday, Wednesday. And I'll tell you what, I'm amazed sometimes at the quality of guests that responds to the simple question. Hey, Ira Harge Jr., will you be on my show? Wow, he bubbles with excitement. And I said, no, I'm just flattered he knows Henry T. And he wants to be on the show today. Boy, does he have a story. Former St. Pius great played for the legendary Bill Duffy, those undefeated teams over there. He goes on to play at San Diego State. He then goes on to Denver, graduates, big time degree and everything. And his younger brother Joey, two successful sons of the all-time All-American, the first Lobo great in history, Ira Harge Sr. Oh, what a story. I've got things written down here that I just know by heart now, and it's all there. And I love reading, but it'll take too long to read. This young man has too many accomplishments on this resume. And then, man, going into point production, he was great. And the rebounds, and talking about dad, Ira Harge Sr. and Josephine. What a story. What a family story. The two brothers played major college basketball, as did dad, of course. And then Cecilia, she was a college basketball story as well, and a star. And that's the sister. But I understand the best athlete in the whole house is Mama. But what a pleasure to have Ira Harge Jr., who, by the way, the coach at Pecos High School last year and the year before, state champion, named Coach of the Year. Woo! Is this a story? Let's put him on the air right now. Ira Jr., how are you? What a
I'm
pleasure to
well,
have
Henry
you.
T. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. Your resume goes for 2 blocks.
Oh,
Congratulations on your career.
oh, thank you. And what a career it's been. I am so excited and very excited to be on your show. Thank you so much. Very honored.
Oh, thank you. And now, responsibilities as the new athletic director at Espanola High School. It never ends with you. You just
Oh,
reach for the mountaintop, don't you?
nah. That's what they say, reach for the stars, right? I'm
Amen.
excited at this opportunity. Espanola has they've welcomed me as did Pecos, and here this kid from Albuquerque, headed up north, and the communities are just so friendly and so nice, and they've done so many things, to make me feel welcome. So
Well, you broke a lot of hearts when you announced your resignation there because they saw a gold mine of more trophies, blue trophies in their future when you were leading that pack. What was it like there in Pecos?
it was wonderful. I got to say it started off rocky, not with the community, just in building the program. It was hard. My first year we went 5-22, but I got to tell you, when you go 5-22, and then you go win state later years, it was well worth it. We were that program is truly a program now, and the guy that's taken over, Arthur Gonzalez, he's a great guy. He assisted me for of my 7 years. He assisted me 5 of the 7 years, and it's in very good hands. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he went and got another one. I don't know if it'll be next year, but I think he'll get one. So I'm very excited for the town of Pecos. They treated me very well, and we were able to accomplish so many good things and just built that thing to where now it's automatic. We're so excited about that.
Well, let's go back when you were young, you and Joe and Cecilia. from what I could judge, what I've always seen, you guys had about the best parenting that's humanly possible. Would you concur with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had, obviously a basketball family, but we were an academic family. Both my parents were teachers. Um, my dad got out at some point and decided he wanted to be he wanted to go in and get into business. So he got into insurance and owned a bar, and he did really well. And my mother was a first grade teacher that made it all the way to the superintendent level. And
Wow.
so they imposed that upon us. I mean, I'm happy to say that all three of us, including my brother and my sister, we all have master's degrees. We knew what came first. We knew our bodies were only going to last so long in the sports, and we forged ahead and made sure we got degrees and advanced degrees at that. And so we were parented very well. Love my parents. They guided us in so many facets of life. We're so blessed to have them and still have them. They're still here with us.
The game of basketball has been a source of entertainment for your family. That extracurricular activity, as we call it, has really been enjoyed by every member of your family. And we, the recipients of all your talents, wow, the Harge family is huge in New Mexico. The respect that people pay your family, they didn't, I mean, it wasn't handed to you. You earned the respect because you guys are successful. But tell us about the influence, just the game within every member of your family. The game of basketball, impulsively. What do you think?
I, the game has treated us very well. We've got to travel because of it, got educations because of it. But I mean, a quick story. My dad would have us out there, my brother and I, from the time we were basic middle school, maybe fifth grade. He had us out there running and getting in shape and helping us. And he never forced it upon us. He always allowed us to choose what we wanted to do. His only thing was whatever you start is you can't quit. And so we started it. We loved it. I mean, it's even trickled down to our children, to the grandchildren. So my son played at New Mexico Highlands, and my daughters actually all play volleyball. I have a daughter, my youngest daughter now, and my youngest stepdaughter. One plays at UTEP. Alianza Darley plays at UTEP, and then my Mary plays at the University of Niagara. Now they're volleyball players, but basketball, my son played, and my sons Trey and Drew, and then my daughter Jazz played for a little bit, but she ended up playing volleyball at Highlands. Now John Harge is the latest one, and that's my son Joe's son, and John is playing for the University of Northern Kentucky. And he's getting some significant playing time. He's doing very well. That's a great program. And they won, as a matter of fact, they won conference last year. He was out with an ACL injury, but now he's back, and he's happy. He happens to be playing a big, and he really is better facing the basket, but he's just happy to be on the court. So, basketball seems to be the Harge legacy. My dad used it to get out of the ghetto, literally. Came here to New Mexico with Bob King, as you know, and the rest is history. The rest of us, we just kind of followed suit, and the sport has just been tremendous for us.
Tell us that story quickly about Dad coming to New Mexico, and he came and he stayed, and the whole family's here. But that's a dramatic story about where he grew up to where he came out, and Bob King said, Ira, come with me. Tell us where Dad came from.
Yeah, my dad's from Detroit, Michigan, and he truly is that story of being in the ghetto and using basketball as a tool to get out. And he went to a junior college in Bowling Green, and he thought he was going to go to Iowa State. And I don't remember what happened, but Bob King came through there, and you know Bob King, so he convinced him to come to New Mexico, and upon telling his family he was going to New Mexico, no one really knew where it was. Yeah, and it's funny because, and he'll tell you this story, but he expected to come out here and see horses and old Western kind of things, because he knew nothing about New Mexico. So he came out on a train, and Bob King picked him up in a car. So at that point, he realized that New Mexico truly existed and was a state, and really thrived. And if you ask him, why did you leave Detroit, or how come you didn't go back, he'll tell you, I got tired of my nose running. And so that's that's kind of his story. He came out here and he made a home for us. As a matter of fact, when he played 9 years in the pros, 2 years in Spain and 7 years in the ABA, and when he retired, he gave my mom a choice. He said, do you want to go to San Diego, back to New Mexico, or to Florida? Well, my mom didn't like the humidity of Florida, and she did like San Diego, but thought it was growing too fast. And so she wanted to come back where they met. And my mom was at the University, or St. Joseph's, and my dad was at UNM. And so when he retired, we came back here and made the home. And by this time I was 8 years old. But New Mexico's always been home to us. My dad went to Oakland and we stayed here. And then when he went to Washington, D.C., that's when we started traveling with him, but we always maintained they had property or we maintained a home here. And so, I'm a proud New Mexican and glad they did. I mean, this is home to us, and my parents are the ones that established that.
So the preparation as an athlete from Dad's assistance, the running, the shooting, the being ready for the challenge to play for wild and crazy and lovable Bill Duffy at St. Pius High School, and you guys were good. How good? And what was it like playing for Coach Duff?
It was my dad definitely prepared us, and it was wonderful playing for Coach Duff. We grew up in the parochial league system, and in that system, I mean, we would play, not just, all those rivalries that we had came together at St. Pius, and they were gone. So we all ended up at St. Pius, and at that point we were the best of the best. I mean, I played with Kevin Cummings and Greg V. I played with the McIntyres and one of the McIntees, who actually football, was my big brother. I mean, there's some big names there that did well. Higgins and Ronnie Beach. As a matter of fact, quick story about Ronnie Beach. He used to tease me. We used to have dunk contests. I mean, I had to wait till the end of my freshman year before I could dunk, but we had just fun times. And those teams, that 80s team, that 1980 and that 1980, and it was after me, my brother's team that went undefeated, those teams were stacked. They had shooters, they had guards, they had bigs, they had it all. And in 82, we weren't expected to do anything. And I got to say that group, my junior year, we were just like a band of brothers, and we collectively proved the state wrong, and we did really well. And 83, we were projected to win it all, and we didn't even get out of regionals. I think it was Raynard Struck that hit a last second shot from Taos that knocked us off, and then they went on to beat Cobre, but that was a great year. Those I'll never forget those guys again. Those guys, Ron Williams and Greg V. Hill. I mean, those guys are my brothers. Kevin, Joe Eckert. We had a very good team. I think our issue was we were just nervous Nellies and succumbed to the pressure. But under Coach Duff, he was great. He taught us so much. He worked with us, and we just thrived under him. And those teams in the 80s were some outstanding teams, bigs, guards, shooters, just kind of a plethora I mean, coaches would have loved to have coached us. And I don't say that braggishly. I just say that it was just so fun, and we had so much talent that you kind of had to control it and play chess with us a little bit. So it was wonderful
Not
times.
just the
And all
experience.
praise to Coach Duff.
Ira, how about just the experience at St. Pius, the environment, the leadership, Coach Duff, Coach Giannini, and all that staff? And you just talked about the talent. Wow, the experience of that powerful school, parochial, St. Pius, the Sarton, their history. Wow, it was all there. The experience itself, the academics as well. What was it like?
I treasure my St. Pius experiences. We still, when we have reunions, a lot of us get together. I mean, it's not 10, 12. I mean, we were a class of almost 200, and probably half of us, 100 of us get together at the reunions and just reminisce and have a good time. But that experience was just so valuable. And St. Pius was a college preparatory school, and a lot of us went on. I mean, we had classmates that went into West Point, to the Naval Academy, to I think one person went to Stanford. I mean, we had some high functioning students as well, and it was just, I wouldn't trade those memories and experiences from Pius for anything. It's now Albuquerque Uptown. That's where I went to school. Where it was the old Pius there on Louisiana and Indian School, and it was just a great experience. I mean, Coach Tiber, Janeni, I mean, Coach Mack, I mean, it was Kovic, excuse me. Just a bunch of great coaches and a bunch of kids having a good time, and we loved it. Great experience.
My goodness. And let's just talk about you. And I know it's time to toot your horn. You're a humble guy, but tell us, in the fire, on the court, Ira, who were you when you put that uniform on?
I laugh because when I tell people my playing day story, they laugh at me. Coach Duffy calls my brother and I gentle giants. And for me, my dad always drilled. He said, if you just play good defense and you rebound, you'll play on anybody's team. And so my focus was rebounds. I wanted to block shots, rebound, and just run the floor. And I enjoyed that. I did that. And I never knew that I had a record, the rebounding record at St. Pius, until Johansson broke it. and so he was that was and I'm so happy. I mean, it was, I'm glad he did that. But my playing days, if you didn't say anything to me, if you just kind of played the game, I was good for 15 points and 15 rebounds. But I just had this switch in me. If you made me mad or you started talking to me, running your mouth, then I was going to go. Then that's when the 20-point games and the high 20 rebounds came, because I'm a competitor. But like I said, Coach Duff called us gentle giants, and until you made us mad.
Throughout your life, you could not escape being the son of the All-American great Ira Harge Sr., the first big man, the first big legitimate modern day star at the University of New Mexico, brought here, as we said earlier, by the great Bob King. How could you ever escape being the son of the great All-American?
I don't know if I wanted to escape. I don't necessarily think I felt too much of the pressure per se, but there were times where I did. But my dad helped me through it, either conversation or just working out. As a matter of fact, I mean, some of the things he did to prepare us, as we discussed, the other day. I mean, when we were working out with him preseason, we would play one-on-one against, I mean, here I am probably, depending what age I was, 6 feet to 6'5". And my dad said, as soon as you block my shot, you can go in the house. And he'll tell you this story. He loves this story. And so I think I was a sophomore, and we were playing, and he shot it and I blocked it. And I didn't even say bye. I just walked in the house because I was done. He said, as soon as we could do that, we could go in the house. And so it was wonderful. He prepared us both mentally and physically. And I can't say just he, my mom did too. They would always just say, keep your grades up and work hard, and no one can take it from you. And make sure, my dad would always tell us, make sure they can't take you off the court, and if they do, they got to take you off, give you some water, and put you right back on. So, and this is what it takes to do it. So it was the running and the shooting and the, just everything, the strength building. And so, and then, again, they went on and added the school part. That was always first and foremost. And my mom would really push that. My dad did too, don't get me wrong, but they just pushed education. So, but no pressure from growing up on my part. My parents may have felt it a little more than we did, but it was wonderful. Growing up under the shadow, and it was a mixed blessing. You were known because of your dad, and then and I'm not ashamed to say it. My brother and I never really eclipsed or got to that point where we were my dad. And I think my dad's upbringing and what he had to fight through, he just had a better drive. We had a little softer life, my brother and sister and I, because my dad did all the hard work. So, maybe we weren't quite as driven, if you want to say that, but it was, we worked hard. We did work hard though. So.
And then you and brother Joey, gosh, the one-on-one battles probably when the sun went down in your backyard. That was interesting because you were both great all-state stars. Away from that, you guys had your own identification of greatness, and having a brother, whether he was 3 inches taller or shorter, I don't know which way it went there, but those were great battles, I'm sure.
They were, my brother, it's funny as I reflect back, is Joey never beat me one-on-one until he was 21 years old. And it was right before he went to play professional basketball. But he was definitely a fierce competitor. I had the weight and the size on him, but he had more moves and more finesse than I ever could have had. But I got to tell you a story. The tiger of the group was my sister, because we always wanted to work on our offense. So we would always make my sister guard us. And she ended up being the better defender and actually playing. She was definitely not a gentle giant. She was mean, probably the meanest one of the three of us on the court. She equated to my dad. As a matter of fact, in junior college, she held Cheryl Swoops to 4 points.
Wow.
So she was the tigress, if you will. But we had some great games, and they'd come down to the wire, whether we're playing 21 or one-on-one, and trying to outshoot each other. And my brother, I think, got a lot more talent, or was more talented in a lot of respects. And a lot of it was because I was always, whenever we would play 5-on-5, he would have to play the guard because he was shorter, and I would end up playing the big or on the wing. And so he developed ball handling skills, passing skills. He saw the court a lot better, and he definitely was much more agile than I was. But great battles.
Amazing. Passing through your life as I watch the success stories, and geez, the last few years at Pecos High School, I know that town. I've done games there, and you got to get there early in the afternoon, especially your team last year. You got to get there 3 in the afternoon for the 7:30 game. Am I right? Because the fans there are rabid. They want to see the Panthers play. Yes?
Yes. I tell, this is my story. So we're a group of runners up there. People they underestimate what we do. We're runners in the sense that we won 4 state championships under Patrick Ortiz, 3 in boys and 1 in girls. And they're runners. The endurance these kids have up there is phenomenal. And because basketball is the premier sport, that's the one that everybody wants to see do well. Running almost takes a back seat, but really it should be the front seat, because we won a state track and field championship under Joe Solis, and then we turn around and win 4 or 3 back-to-back titles as cross-country runners. And we had a lot of state champions. I mean, you walk in that gym and the majority of the banners up on the wall are runners. And because of that, it translates to that basketball court. We run all day. We can press you and press you and press you. And that's what we did. We just ran all day. We would just never take off the pressure. In my 7 years, there was one team that figured us out, and we had to back out of our press, and that was Estancia. They figured us out. And so so we had to try and go to a half court game, but runners is where it is. But it was wonderful people, wonderful town, wonderful kids. The kids are outstanding. So,
hey, when you tailgate at Pecos, that's the most delicious tailgate food in New Mexico. Am I right?
yeah, absolutely. That Frito pie, it will rival anybody's.
What?
The Frito pie will rival anybody's.
Hot or mild, chili, whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a dream season that maybe you ought to write a book on, because Northern New Mexico basketball is what it is. It's tremendous. It's colorful. It's dramatic. Some of the personalities over the years, they're great stories in themselves. But to have a dream season like that, where everybody in your town wants to be there, everything shuts down. I mean, I'm not gonna. There's your team right there. Look at that picture. What does that mean for you?
It means the world to me, especially, like I said, the first year was rough. Second year, we just kept improving. And then, to have 3 years, each year we got better. And the third year, we make it to the semifinals, and we hadn't been there in 11 years. And then to run off 4 state championships means everything. I mean, these guys worked hard. They bought in. They played hard. I mean, I look at that picture, and all I have is pride and just the big smile, because those guys really knew what it took to do it. And once we won one, which was the 16-17,
the love and energy they gave you, the dedication that every one of those young men gave you, Coach. Talk about that story.
These guys, I said it after we won the first state championship, which hadn't been done in 51 years. And I said, now you guys have been bitten. And at that point, once they bought in, and they're nothing but respect both ways. But those guys really understood what we were trying to do and what I was selling to them, if you want to say it that way. And it was just, it's an admiration both ways. Kids to me and me to the kids. And once you do that, you do something special, you will do anything for each other. And that's what the kind of relationship we had.
And the love story from the parents to you, the community, everybody gathered, you could see it at the state tournament, how tight your community was, and how, man, every resident, every whomever in Pecos went to the pit, correct?
Correct. And we have an extended family. So Pecos is about 2,000 people, but every time we made it to state, there was more than 2,000. So we would include, we got all of northern New Mexico. It seemed like we got the Las Vegas and the Moras and the Cuestas and the Peñascos. And I mean, rivals became friends when we got to to state. And I mean, it was just a sea of green and gold.
Yeah.
And so the community extended itself when we got to that point.
So the success story continues for the rest of their lives. What kind of catalyst? Winning 3 state championships there, and what developed after you left your mark on them? Now they go off into the real life, and you've got big hopes and possibilities for them. The expectations of your young players and the teammates, they're ready for the new world. How ready?
You know, let me, this kind of encapsulates it. I had 2 valedictorians, Mario Archuleta and Aaron Ortiz, different years, but I had 2 valedictorians and two salutatorian last year. So I had the valedictorian and the salutatorian, they were co. And those guys go on to New Mexico Tech. They go on, they get scholarships not for basketball, but for academics. And the character that those guys have developed, I mean, once they bought in, and it wasn't a hard sell. They know how to win. They know not only how to win on a court, they know how to win in life. And all those guys are successful. And not all of them, the majority of them went to college. Of all my players, it's 7 years, the majority of them went to college. And some of them chose not to, but those that chose not to are successful in what they're doing outside of college. And they're just a group of guys that believe in education. They're a group of guys that have just good, solid character. And that's one of the things we preached, you know, character's one of those things that, you know, doing the right thing when nobody's looking. And those guys bought into that. And they're just, I mean, they're good guys. They really are. So.
Let's talk about Ira Harge Jr., the present life that you live right now. Who are you today?
So, you know, I
family included.
What was that? So today is, I'm now the athletic director at Espanola Valley High School. I followed the superintendent over there, and you know, my famous line now is I've gone from coaching athletes to coaching coaches, and my goal in Espanola is to help them be successful like we were in Pecos. In Pecos, in Mr. Trujillo, Fred Trujillo's tenure, in 10 years, we won 16 state championships. And he brought me with him to Espanola because we want to win 16 state championships in Espanola. We want our success to go. And I'm looking at this family photo. We've got my wife, Lisa, my parents, all my kids, and grandkids. I'm a grandfather, by the way. Great picture. But every one of those people in that photo is an athlete or up and coming athlete. So, but we, you know, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a coach, I'm an athletic director, and we are I'm truly blessed with my family and my wife, Lisa. We built a wonderful family and just wonderful memories. So.
It's an incredible story. And how quickly all of these things have happened. I mean, I was a kid watching your dad, and that seems like a million years ago after watching the development of your life and Joey and Cecilia, and now you're a grandfather. Unbelievable.
It's crazy. And
that
time flies, right?
Huh?
Time flies.
It's incredible. And the leadership and success stories, it just keeps getting to be a better story every year. And there's a big why. So many people there in that photograph are winners in life, so successful. The educations, the children. Why so much success in that photograph?
You know, I attribute it to my parents. Um, you know, they weren't demonstrative. They weren't like beating on our top of our heads to move forward, but they were always positive about education, always positive about sports, always positive about anything you do in life. And we bought in, and it trickles down to the kids and to the grandkids and to the great grandchildren. I mean, it's the why is Ira and Geraldine Harge. That's the why.
Describe mom. I've met her on many occasions. I tell you what, she leads the world in the sweetheart division. What a nice lady.
My mom is, I can't say enough nice things. Driven, smart. I mean, she was valedictorian. She graduated top St. Joseph's, an educator, a Christian, Catholic Christian. My mom is just the glue that keeps us all together. She's the one, my dad has the sports name, but if you ask in the educational circles, if you ask around town about Jerry Harge, they'll let you know she was under Bob Rager. Like I said, first grade teacher all the way up to superintendent. She was superintendent in Nye County. And we all follow my dad, yes, but we definitely follow my mom and her hardworking ethics and her and then she's just an ethical person, a very nice person, and she's the one that kind of just she guided us. I mean, my formative years when my younger years when my dad was off playing basketball, that's who she was, a single mom basically. They call them basketball widows, and she implanted some things in all of us that have driven us in life. So.
Amazing. I incorrectly, when I opened the show, called her Josephine, not Geraldine, and she is Jerry. And recently I saw her, and she was so sweet, and she came and helped me as I was attending a funeral at the convention center. But she was ramrodding the whole program that day, and sharp. Oh, but the heart that she expressed, kind, considerate, caring woman, great smile, and she had the place totally in control. So now describe dad. Who is dad to you? Who is dad in our society? Because people can still tell you define moments, highlight moments of Lobo games of the past. And his legacy is huge, and it's interesting. But what's his legacy to you?
His legacy to me is he's a very, very proud man. He his reputation in the pros, if you remember in ABA back then before all the rules, I mean, he used to fight a lot, but he refused to let someone, basically, for lack of better words, punk him. He was going to succeed. He's going to go over you, around you, or through you on a basketball court. And whatever he takes on and whatever he did in life, he did to the best of his ability. And he wasn't going to let anybody get in his way. And my dad is a extremely proud man, and he passed that on. And to me, he's just that rock, and that's what we kind of built upon. So
Yeah, and when I was a kid, the Lobos, what a team they had! My goodness, Crusage and Harge and gosh, Ellis, I believe, was on that team. Boo Ellis, uh, Mike Lucero. They went to the NIT championship in New York, and a big crowd of Lobo fans said bye to them when they got on the plane, and a bigger crowd said welcome back home at the airport after they got that second place trophy. And man, that was really the modern day beginning of Lobo hoops. What stories can you tell us? What did he share with you about his days as a player, as a Lobo?
He loved being a Lobo. He's still a Lobo. I laugh because I went to San Diego State, and so we came here obviously during the old whack and played Lobos, and I know he was torn. My dad is a Lobo to the T. He watches the Low. He still watches the Lobos, or listens, or and some of his old buddies, not old buddy, but his buddies get together and they still have lunch or breakfast together. Now we're in COVID, so they haven't done it as much. But when it wasn't there, they still get together. But he's a diehard Lobo, and loved his time and his stories. He'll tell stories of how he even went after he retired and worked out with the Lobos. But that story of going to the NIT, he loved that. They took second, and he was in foul trouble the majority of the game. I don't know if you remember that. I think he was on the bench and ended up fouling out. But wonderful memories of that. And it was an Olympic year. I guess I would say this: his only regret had nothing to do with the Lobos. It had everything to do with not being selected to go play, at least try out for the Olympics. So he got drafted by the 76ers, and my family moved out there. As a matter of fact, I was born in Philadelphia. So and then he ended up getting cut because some guy named Wilt Chamberlain got traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. So Ira Harge gets cut for Wilt Chamberlain. My dad went and spent 2 seasons in Spain. So and then came back, and then from there he spent the rest of his seasons. He was in Oakland, and they won an ABA championship. Then he goes to Washington, and he goes to Carolina, Florida, and Utah, and he'll tell those stories much better than I'm doing now. But he coming back to New Mexico, this is home to him. The Lobos runs through his blood, and he definitely loves the Lobos.
Bob King meant so much to our community. And of course, Coach Ellenberger followed him, and all the coaches, and then the pit. And because of your dad's efforts, I mean, we were forced to go get the architect and let's design a new building. We need to put people in the seats. And your dad was probably the biggest reason we had to. But the development of the program, the Lobo basketball, you've followed it, the ups and downs and all arounds. But overall, the story of Lobo basketball, the reputation around the country, because of people like your dad and his teammates, and then Bob King, there's not a basketball coach or fan in the country that's not familiar with University of New Mexico basketball and that great big arena.
Yeah, I guess something that makes me swell with pride is they say that Ira Harge built the pit and Mel Daniels filled the pit. And so every time I hear that in low, and you usually hear it on low and at UNM, I just swell with pride because those were some great teams, and then it just got better. I mean, look, Marvin Johnson, Michael Cooper, Petey Gibson. I mean, it just never stopped. And I know they're struggling a little bit this year, but Lobo basketball is phenomenal. And what's even better is how we fill the pit. Man, I went to a couple of games while in Pecos. I would go catch a couple of games when we didn't have a game, and winning, losing, we fill the pit. We love our basketball, and we just, I just can't say enough good things, and neither can my father. I mean, we just love it, and he likes when they introduce him, when they have to go down and at center court at halftime when they bring all the Lobos back. I love that too. So it's a great tradition that's been.
And when they introduce Dad on the court at halftime, he gets the biggest roar. Everybody knows and remembers, and they've read about the legendary leader of the Lobos, Ira Harge. That's got to make you feel good.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then to further that, my dad, he left for a brief moment, but he was training in car sales, and so he goes and he leaves New Mexico briefly, and he comes back and he sells cars at Rich Ford. Well, he was at Frontier for a little bit, and then he was at Rich Ford for 20 years, and he was one of the top salesmen. Like I said, proud man. He loves to win, very competitive, and he did really well, and we got to the point where he was getting our friends, and then he was getting our friends' kids, and so he like I said, this is home to him, and he enjoys seeing people, he enjoys talking to them, he enjoys all the his fellow New Mexicans. Like I said, this is his adopted home.
One thing I really noticed throughout the family, and talking to Brother Joey as well, about the faith that you all have. If it's not too private, how about your faith? Because I saw that family photograph. Man, that photograph equals great faith to me. How about to you?
Absolutely. Our Lady of Guadalupe is where my wife and I got married, and we were raised Catholic, and so I always tell this story about my grandmother, Gladys McDowell. On my mom's side, they were actually Baptists, and my grandmother converted her other three siblings to Catholicism, and we have been Catholic ever since. And then when my mom and dad got together, I don't know if my dad was anything, but my mom, he converted to Catholicism as well. And we are a family of faith. Any of my interviews, my post interviews, I always, God first, and then everything else. And you talk about keys to success. There's your key to success. Man upstairs is where it all starts.
Kind of bring the big picture into a small picture, your days at Pecos, because they missed you. When you made your resignation there, I mean, people cried real tears. And the excitement throughout did they win again? What's the Pecos score? The excitement that you were a catalyst for throughout New Mexico. You became the talk of the state last year. Everybody wanted to know about your streak, and I'm sure you could feel it. There you are, coaching at a game at home. But what was that like with the power of Panther basketball statewide? Everybody wanted to know, did they win again?
What an honor. That's where I will start. What an honor. To be talked about. You walk around with that big target on your back. That might be the negative, but you walk around with that big target on your back because you built something. And I just can't say enough about the dedication of the young men, and the support of the community, and the support of the administration and the teachers. And it truly was a team effort, but not just a basketball team. It was a global team there in Pecos, and it was wonderful. And we worked hard and we played hard. We just good guys, and I'm so, in the word I always use, I'm just so blessed to have been a part of all of this. I mean, 4 back-to-back state championships. I mean, the only other public school, not private, the only other public school to do that, from my understanding, is Hobbs. And so to be in a category with Coach Tasker, wow, that is a miracle, because we do everything he did? No, but we sure worked hard and did what we could, and for a little 2A school, we bumped up to 3A for a little bit and back down to 2A.
How about that early upset? How about that early upset in your season last year? Was it against Clovis? And they're ranked in the top 3 in the big division, and little Pecos knocked them off. And from there, Man, you got the undivided attention of all fans in our state.
You know, it actually started this summer. The summer before that, this little team had been playing together since elementary school, and they knocked off a couple 4A, 5A schools in the summer. But but you go and you beat a Clovis, like you said, and wow, then all of a sudden you're on the map, and that really was a good game. That game was tough. And we go into it, and I told the guys, we have nothing to lose. This is a 5A team. If we beat them, wow. If we lose to them, we were supposed to lose to them. So go in there with no pressure and just play. And they did. And we beat them by 4 points. But that was probably our biggest victory last year, other than winning state against a very good Magdalena team. Very, very talented.
But was that game at home, if I recall, the upset of Reclose?
It was. It was.
What was the atmosphere like that night?
And I don't know if Jimmy can find that clip. That was phenomenal. That was like a state championship game played at your house. And I mean, there was standing room only. People were everywhere. It was it was loud. It was back and forth, and to beat a great team and a very well coached team like Clovis really is a feather in those guys' caps. I mean, they played their hearts out.
Michael Romero, the Bernalillo Star, says something about a 51-point record being broken. Tell us that story.
It was it was 51. It was 51 years since we had won state. The last time Pecos had won state was in 1966, and we actually thought we were going to make it to the state championship at the 50-year mark, which would have been the 2015-16 season. We were right there. That's when we made it to the semifinals, played a very good Texaco team that just wiped the floor with us, and we learned from that. And from then on, I mean, so then the next year we come back in the 16-17 season and we win state. So that erased the 51-year drought that Pecos hit. I mean, they had made it to state, they had made it to the finals. They just could not get over that hump. And in 16-17, not only did we get over the hump, we ran off 3 more. We ran 4 straight. And each year I would say, be a great team, be greater than the last year's team. And they did. I mean, for 4 straight years, it was remarkable. So you go 51
last year's record. What was the record of your team last year?
We were 29-1 last year.
Wow. And the one lost?
Santa Fe High.
Ooh.
And that was a very good team. And I quick shout out to Coach Cole and my condolences regarding JB White. That was another great game. I think they ended up beating us by 6 or 8. And we learned from that. The one thing that I told my guys after that loss is I said, 5A teams do this every night. Their games aren't typically blowouts. And so they minimize the mistakes. They don't turn the ball over. They hit free throws. They get rebounds. That's what they do every night. That's what we have to achieve. And compliments to Santa Fe High, because that's exactly what they do. I mean, I still, I have a quick JB White story. So JB White pulls up for a 3-pointer, and one of my better players, Xavier Padilla, blocks his shot. Now, JB's 6'7", and Xavier's 6'1", on a good day, blocks his shot, and everybody loses it. JB White, as calm as he could be, grabs the ball, shoots another 3-pointer, and drills it. I mean, just calm as he could be. And so my tribute to him is that he was calm, and he's a very good athlete, a very good player, and my condolences to his family. But it was that type of game,
Give us the total tribute about JB and his character, his athletic ability, and people really projected him to be a future Lobo star. your story on that young man.
Same. I would say that he had the ability. He was definitely talented. He carried that team, and he could have done very well and was projected to do very well for the Lobos. I think that, had he not died tragically, he had a very good future and possibly a pro career. Possibly.
My goodness. How did that affect your community?
It's a basketball community at that point. It's beyond Pecos, beyond Espanola. It's a basketball community. It rocked all of us. I mean, you hear of a budding star, and to die so tragically is just horrendous. I mean, it's hurtful, and you hope and pray that never happens to you and or your family. And it was just painful, not only to us as Pecos, but it was painful to all of us as a basketball community across the state of New Mexico.
And a lesson well learned the hard way. And what is your message to the youth out there that might get a little loose and away from mom and dad and lose some of their strong character? What do you tell them, Coach?
Go back to characters doing the right thing when nobody's looking, and Smokey Gaines. I don't know, who Smokey is.
Yeah.
Smokey was my coach at San Diego State, and he one time in Smokey's way said, "You know what? I've been 40. I've been 18. How many of you guys have been 43?" And that I never forgot that. And to those young guys out there, I say, listen to your parents, listen to your coaches, because they've been your age and they know the mistakes they made. My brother Joey brought an Arkansas saying home. He said, "Shave off somebody else's face so you don't cut your own." And that's what I would portray. Hey, listen. And people are just trying to help you, not hurt you. And especially in this pandemic, we all want to get back to sports, right? So listen, wear your masks, social distance, do what it takes so we can get back there, because it's so important to New Mexico.
In 30 seconds, you're now the athletic director at Espanola High School. You're going to have, postponements, cancellations. The COVID thing is really putting the pressure on administrators, educators like you. But the administration responsibilities that we look forward to, you've got some challenges ahead. What might be the greatest challenge of all?
Really, COVID itself. I mean, because if we start playing and a team tests positive, one person, it cancels that team for 2 weeks. And just the pandemic itself is one of the greatest challenges. Scheduling, we've got that down. Practices, we've got that down. Staying in pods, all of that. But COVID itself could shut you completely down for 2 weeks once we get going.
What a pleasure, Ira Jr., for Henry T. to have you on this show. I love your family. I mean, I got stories on top of stories about great Lobo games, about dad meeting your mom, of knowing Joey and Cecilia and you. The Harge story is just one of those all-American stories. And I really appreciate your family, who you are, what you guys stand for, and your leadership of our great state. Thank you for being on this show today.
Henry T., thank you. And it was my honor to be with the great Henry Tafoya. You got to be kidding me. Thank you.
You're amazing. Well, be careful. And ladies and gentlemen, wow, a standing ovation for Ira Harge Jr. today, no question. And our sponsors, bravo for them as well. Amistoy Drywall. We've got Rax Lumber with Richie Tabbitt, Pierre Amistoy with Amistoy Drywall, Rax Lumber with Richie Tabbitt, and Indigo Mortgage, Ben Lucero, Kevin over at the canteen, and they're not doing much because the schools that they feed every day. Um, he's hoping the schools return so he can get his business back going again. And GovTV, Comcast 26, ProView Networks carrying this show. I'm just honored. It's challenging to be on these great TV stations. And I think Alden, the great director producer down there at ProView, what a good guy he is. Comes in dedicated every day, gives you this great production. Our producer, Jimmy Tran, man, he's on top of the game. All the pictures you see, man, punching the buttons to the show. Got some great support around me. But you know, we really appreciate you watching the show. And if you have a suggestion for a guest that needs to be on the show, call me as soon as possible. 907-4523. Have a great day. And again, bravo, Ira Harge Jr. See you all next Monday. Big guest coming. Don't miss it. See you later.